Hey, welcome to another edition of Breaking Protocol from the Razzle Dazzle Show, our ongoing miniseries where we break down key updates and design questions straight from the development of Shade Protocol. These episodes are built around the game's community engagement series Devs Ask You, or DAUs, where Kendall and the team not only show us changing, but invite fans to shape the journey with them. Today's spotlight is on a brand new enemy being designed from the ground up. It's the Grappler. It's a mid-range mechanical threat with a singular, focused purpose, and it introduces unblockable control into encounters in a way that changes how player must think about space, timing, and risk. Be sure to follow us and Little Legendary on our socials and YouTube channel, and be sure to join the Shade Protocol Discord server to follow new DAUs, vote in polls, and share your voice directly with the dev team. Links to everything will be in the description down below, and with all that being said, it's Razzle Dazzle time! Each enemy within a faction shares like a kind of synergy. Those aren't your words, I'm just saying that. And I know the Grappler, at least the code name of it for now, it does what kind of the name says. It grapples you, right? I've noticed that for other enemies that you guys been releasing DAUs for, I know this is specifically for the Grappler, this episode, but I just want to point out that there's a hugger, right? There's the arc twins that have big old arms. There's the machiners and stuff like from what I'm gathering with this arc faction, that there are a lot of like bigger enemies, like bulkier enemies that hits harder, that will grab you, that will come at you, like they will get up in your ass and like won't let you breathe. So, and that's all from assumption, right? And that's all from the information that is within the DAUs. So what I want to ask is, what are you guys doing to make sure that the visual or audio cues telegraph, like, this is the Grappler that's coming at you, not to get confused with any other enemies, of course, not just visually, but like, you know what I mean? It's like, how are you guys going about from differentiating these enemies, even if the way they attack are similar, potentially?
Yes. So that's a really good question, because this is stuff that we are thinking about it as we go, and it's mostly here's where we have like a lot of creative space to still do stuff that feels really epic. So I'll give you some examples, and none of this is like for sure. This is just stuff that we're thinking about, like, if the entire arc faction is like more, like we mentioned, lost to time, and they're like more, of a time past, we'll call it. Maybe they have a completely different energy source. So whenever they dash to you, they might sound different. Whenever they, the Grappler specifically, I know people can't see it right now, but they have like this, they look very tanky. They look like they're a big boy, and one of their arms is, materially larger than the other. That's the arm that will, pretty much, inflict the most damage. The part of the idea is that whenever you see it, like, rev that arm, or whenever it's kind of, moving that arm in any way, you need to be worried, right? Because that's kind of your tell that, something that you might not be able to deal with is coming. But mechanically, we're gonna give players enough time, of course, to visually react to this, and you might get grabbed a couple times and smashed around, and that's part of the learning. But after a while, you will develop the playstyle and the tools to deal with their kit. Of course, if you end up with multiple of them together and they all have different goals, we'll call it, like, and these enemies have different goals. Some of them, as in like the enemy goal to hurt you in a certain way or to put you in certain positions, but also our design goal. For example, the Grappler is meant to teach you that, you can't just block your way through everything, right? That's part of the learning at this point, right? If you think about it, the beginning of the game is going to try to condition you that, the shield, which is, part of the, a lot of the I'd say the beauty of the game comes from, right? Like this concept that you're a protector, or that's at least what you wish you could be, is part of you. Like this is your main weapon. So you will probably get away with blocking a lot of stuff really early in the game, and then I don't know where you make it to this area where your default button for survival kind of is a little less relevant. And that's part of your growth as a player, learning how to deal how to deal with that, how to dash away, or how to use your other instruments to interrupt attacks, and it'll be fairly evident, right? But it'll definitely not force you, but steer you away from that comfortable play style of like I can block most things, which is probably how some of the beginning of the game would be, to give you a little bit of false sense of security and then just like shatter your feelings. Part of what games do well. So we'll try our best.
Right.
For
Yeah.
for terms of cues or whatnot, the telegraphs that you could get from an enemy that's going to grab you um, are not going to be so impossible to tell that you're just going to be surprised and there's nothing you could do. But they're definitely meant to be some. I mean, my goal is that you get grabbed at least once, right? You need to be. This needs to happen to you in a way that maybe you didn't expect, and then you'll be like, "Whoa, okay, like that's a lot," and now I know, now that can happen. But of course, if this happens once to you, and then there's never another way for us to, for the enemy to get to you, then they won't feel as impactful or relevant. So we have some creative ways of making the enemies like slowly but surely work more and more together. We call it like a pretty much if you take a monitor and you split it into 9 boxes, right? If you were to take like the screen and split it into 9 boxes, um, I like to kind of heat map those based on what an enemy can do, right? So if the enemy is like very, very grounded enemy, so then the bottom 3 boxes are pretty much red, right? So that's where if you're in any of those 3 boxes, like the enemy has access to you and they will interact with you more. But if it's a melee enemy and we put the enemy on the bottom left, then pretty much that box is really red, but the other boxes at the very bottom are less so because it needs to be near you to do things. What we want to do is give enemies, at the very least, always 5 boxes. They always have to have at least 5 boxes of access to you. That's our goal. There's enemies that have 9 boxes of access to you, right? Enemies that fly or enemies that have like ability to track you. But something like the grappler, um, which by the way, I really love that it's we call it like that, but if you look at its design and whatnot, it's kind of designed to be like this boxer type. Like it blocks like a boxer, it like punches you like very very harshly like a boxer. Like it,
Right.
we even have an attack that we're working on right now that I think the DAU is either already out or coming out way before this comes out, which is like he has like a Dempsey roll, like he does like this thing where he would kind of sway away from you attacks and then
Oh
punches
my
you in the
God.
face.
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, he has like this kind of Hajime no Ippo thing.
You
Uh,
know what would be a good name for this?
what?
Southpaw. Because that's a
Oh, there
boxer
you
term
go.
for like a
Yeah, so
left-hander.
cool.
I'm a
That's a
left-hander.
super cool idea. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. I might steal that. Yeah,
Please
that's really
do.
good. So yeah, that's the vibe. Like it is a grappler in the way that in the sense of the word that if you try to, and this comes from somewhere in our community, which I thought was a really good point. It's like just imagine if you try to dash through this enemy. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, right?
Right.
But it's just the theme, right? The theme is that if you try to dash through the enemy, he's like gonna imaginarily like grab your face and throw you back in front of him, as in like
It's
you're
like you're
going
not going
nowhere.
anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but not in the sense that he's gonna grab you and like instantly kill you. It's more like you're fighting me. You're going
Sit your
nowhere.
ass down.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And of course, if he grabs you, the attacks that we have currently revealed, like I mean, he has a grab that he grabs you with a huge arm and he scrapes the floor with you, and it throws you against walls. It's
Yeah.
very, very angry, dude. Very angry, dude. Um, but at that time, like, how do we get this enemy to be able to do all these things in a way that you can fall for them? Because if you can't fall for them, because let's say you're jumping the entire time and he doesn't have access to you, then you'll never feel the the fear of this happening. So, um, needless to say, we got some answers for that. And, our goal is that these enemies will maybe start in a way that you will be able to manage, and you'll slowly kind of be learning how to deal with them. Like the other enemies, like the Hugger or whatnot. That's of course a horrific name, but
Right.
it makes sense of what it's trying to do. Pretty much like crush you in its arms, and then the more you evolve that fantasy, the more educated you're going to be by this moment, right? So the faction itself is going to teach you um, you are not safe. That's the goal of this faction. You are not safe. Like we will not allow you to get any sense of safety, and you will have to stay mobile, stay intelligent, and then of course if there's many of them, then this might be the place where you might have to run, and that's part of the game. You might have to learn to pick your battles whenever you're facing too many enemies that cover too many of those 9 boxes in a way that you have to pick them off to be able to deal with that. But we'll never make it so that you are not incentivized to fight. But we will definitely make it so that whenever you are fighting enemies that are meant to be more dangerous, you'll have to kind of think through who to take out first. And I think that's an interesting concept that happens in some of the best Metroidvanias, right? If you're playing something like Silksong or these games, like if you have a kind of quote unquote the support enemy, we'll call it, and you kind of let them do their thing, you're in trouble. Same feeling. So something like the Grappler would most surely get in the way of all of that, and that's the intention.
This has been another episode of Breaking Protocol from the Razzle Dazzle Show. Want to help what Shade Protocol becomes? Join the Shade Protocol Discord server to follow new DAUs, vote in polls, and share your voice with the dev team directly. Go follow Shade Protocol on Kickstarter, and if you like this breakdown, check out our past spotlights and interviews with Kendall right here on the Razzle Dazzle Show. Remember, the future of Emeria is still being written.